Good Thursday morning, everybody. I'm Dave Furtado.
And I'm meteorologist Jefferson Donovan.
And welcome to Keep Her Quick, your latest local news and weather commercial free in 15 minutes or less. We're going to jump right over to weather, though, because we have hot temperatures on the way, but for now, some cooler temperatures, more seasonal ones.
That's right, more seasonal temperatures, and we're also going to be dealing with more clouds today, so let's take a look at our weather headlines. I understand that we are going to start off with sunshine early on this Thursday, but as we go throughout the day, we will notice an increase in clouds, and by the late afternoon and evening hours, we will actually see partly to mostly cloudy skies around our forecast area for this penultimate day of the work week. Now, sun lovers, don't fret too much because we get right back to the sunshine on Friday with very pleasant weather conditions to wrap up the work week. And then the big story that so many folks are talking about, that return of very high heat next week. In fact, we could see triple-digit temperatures next week. We will discuss that more coming up.
Thanks, Jefferson. We begin this morning in Yakima County. Jury selection is underway for the murder trial of a man accused of killing another man in February of 2022. The man is charged with second-degree murder, drive-by shooting, eluding law enforcement, and unlawful possession of a firearm. He's accused of killing Gerald Moore. Jury selection is expected to last through this week, with the trial expected to last about 8 days. He's also facing separate charges of possessing fentanyl with intent to deliver. And authorities in Walla Walla are looking for a man in connection with multiple reports of suspicious and inappropriate behavior toward young women. Police say in a recent case, a juvenile female reported that 23-year-old Alan Adams followed and harassed her and her friend at a local restaurant. After the victim left the restaurant, she received repeated phone calls with disturbing messages from an unknown number that included photos and a video of Adams engaged in a lewd act. Police say this is a familiar pattern that involves approaching young women, asking to borrow their phones, and then calling his own number to save their contact info. Contact non-emergency dispatch in Walla Walla if you have any information about Adams. Now, the Pasco School District is paying nearly $2 million to settle a racial discrimination lawsuit. Jose Hernandez was transportation director for the Pasco School District for about 10 years. He reported several incidents of racial discrimination to the district, such as slurs, anonymous threatening messages, and discriminatory treatment. Hernandez says when he demanded the change, the district asked him to resign, but then demoted him.
It doesn't take away the years of the pain or the emotion that's associated with 10 years is a long time to really be waiting to try to get the district to truly respond.
The school district has continued to deny liability, but this $1.9 million settlement does send a clear signal, which is that the district needs to change.
Now, the district confirmed the settlement and sent us a statement that reads in part, quote, "This resolution was made to avoid the cost and disruption of prolonged litigation and to allow the district to maintain its full focus on serving students and the community. It is important to emphasize that this decision does not represent an admission of wrongdoing." The statement goes on to say the school district categorically denies the characterizations in the lawsuit and stands firmly by its values. And switching gears this morning, you've probably seen them already. Fireworks stands are beginning to be set up across the Tri-Cities. And we spoke with firefighters yesterday to learn how to stay safe and stay within the law if you plan to set those fireworks off. Now, each city and county sets their own rules, with West Richland being the only city in our area to allow aerial fireworks. You should check your city's website to see what's allowed, and be sure to buy fireworks in the city where you plan to set them off.
If you're lighting off illegal fireworks, aerials, in an area where fireworks are banned, and you start a fire that damages his property, burns your neighbor's house down, then now this is where the reckless or negligent burning comes in.
Now, you should always have a hose and water ready to go if something were to go wrong, and keep at least 50 feet of space around where you plan to set them off. And with that, let's jump right over to meteorologist Jefferson Donovan. Jefferson, temperatures not as hot as they're going to be as we head on into the weekend,
right,
when a lot of folks will probably be setting off some of those fireworks. I know in unincorporated Benson County, discharges can happen starting this weekend. So as folks are getting ready to do that, we also got to keep in mind that fire danger potential.
Definitely got to keep in mind that fire danger. It is going to be warm. It is certainly going to be dry. We haven't seen any kind of real measurable precipitation in quite some time. Now, today is actually going to be cooler than days prior. Around the forecast area, you should primarily anticipate high temperatures temperatures into the 80s today. Now in the Tri-Cities, I do believe the model that composes this map is going a little too warm. I anticipate more in the way of mid 80s for the Tri-Cities today. Low to mid 80s coming for the Yakima Valley, mid to upper 70s this afternoon in the Kittitas Valley, with daytime highs in the mid 80s for the foothills of the Blue Mountains today. We are starting off this Thursday rather sunny, but as we go through the mid to late afternoon hours, clouds will really thicken up, and by the late afternoon and evening hours, we could actually see mostly cloudy skies. Now, speaking to the fire danger, one of the things that we always look at when talking about fire danger are the winds. We did see a pretty blustery day on Wednesday. Today, we are going to see similar magnitude winds to what we did see yesterday, with winds gusting between 20 and 25 miles per hour, 20 and 30 miles per hour for the Tri-Cities, Yakima, and Walla Walla on this Thursday, with gusts up to 35 miles per hour in Pendleton and 40 mile per hour gusts coming for Ellensburg. Friday is going to stay relatively breezy, but then by Saturday, most of us will be looking at light winds, although I should note that in the Kittitas Valley, winds even on Saturday are going to be staying pretty stiff. Now let's look at the next 2 days after today. I mentioned those increasing clouds today. By Friday, we get back to the sunny skies. High temperatures for most of us on Friday will be in the low to mid 80s, with upper 70s in the Kittitas Valley. On Saturday, most of us will experience highs in the mid to upper 80s, with low to mid 80s for the Kittitas Valley. Now let's focus on the warm-up as we take a look at the upper air model of the Storm Tracker Futurecast. As we get towards the start of next week, you'll notice this kind of bubble feature forming over the Pacific Northwest. This is known as a ridge, and this is going to be most pronounced on Monday and Tuesday, and all of us by Monday and Tuesday will be into the upper 90s to low 100s. So enjoy the 80s while they're here, because triple digits are on the way. For right now, I'm going to throw it back to Dave.
Thanks, Jefferson. As the dust continues to settle in Iran and full damage assessments could be months out, we caught up with Congressman Newhouse to talk the situation. Now, the recent U.S. attack on the Iranian nuclear facility sent 14 bunker-busting bombs at 3 locations in the central part of the country. The congressman said he found out about the attack around the same time as the general public, saying it was similar to when he found out about the U.S. pulling troops out of Afghanistan. As for Americans, a Reuters Ipsos poll this week shows just shy of 80% are worried that Iran may target U.S. citizens. Congressman Newhouse is among a large, seemingly bipartisan group of leaders who believe Iran shouldn't have nuclear weapons.
In fact, I think countries around the world would agree with that. Put yourself in the place of the president. This was probably a no-win situation kind of decision. But I think the bottom line is the fact that if we could slow down the acquisition of a nuclear weapon by Iran, I think a lot of countries in the world will be very grateful to the United States for that.
Now, Newhouse also spoke to us about the situation with the Snake River dams. Last week, President Trump signed a memorandum revoking any action that the Biden administration took related to those dams. He says he hopes this will lead to a healthy discussion with all stakeholders at the table.
If we're going to maintain and preserve the dams, we also have to address the plight of the salmon. And we're committed to doing that. I think we can. And I think the benefits we get from the dams are absolutely worth the work that we have to put in to balance this equation so we can have both salmon and dams.
Now, Representative Newhouse does plan to come back to his district this weekend unless something in D.C. requires him to stay there. Additionally, we spoke with the congressman about a few other topics, including the president's flip-flops on immigration raids on farms. And we'll dive into the full interview later this week, and it'll be up on our YouTube channel. Switching gears to some more local news, the city of Cle Elum is filing for Chapter 9 bankruptcy. The Cle Elum is the second city in Washington state to do this, and the decision follows a legal battle with the developer and a $26 million debt the city leaders say they simply can't afford. KIMA's Anissa Williams tells us more.
The financial crisis stems from a $25.9 million judgment in favor of developer City Heights Holdings, tied to a failed housing project agreement made back in 2011.
This provides us protection from our creditors, from them, which they've already tried to do, essentially seize our bank accounts and take money out of the city's finances. And so in the short term, it protects us from those kind of actions while we work through the process of trying to come up with an equitable solution that allows us to live up to our obligations and also protect our residents.
Chapter 9 is a different animal, and in some ways has less oversight, obligations, and authority over the debtor. And that, I think, sometimes gives potential debtors some peace that they can just kind of slide on through. But that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be of significant expense, both in professional fees and bond ratings and abilities to borrow efficiently will all be affected. It is a nightmare that neither side should really invite.
Meanwhile, Roger May, one of the principals behind the developer's lender Copperleaf, warned the city weeks ago that filing for bankruptcy could permanently damage its reputation.
I don't know of a single lending institution that would allow a loan like this to go in default for several years. And quite frankly, we're not in a position where we can wait anymore. A bankruptcy, trust me, from a businessman, would be devastating to the city. People investing in the city. Who wants to invest in a bankrupt city with people that put it into bankruptcy? It's a difficult task.
Reporting for Action News, I'm Anissa Williams.
KIMA's Anissa Williams, thank you. And Cle Elum city leaders say they remain committed to transparency and to protecting citizens throughout this process, but acknowledge this is only the beginning of what could be a long and difficult road. If you're planning to go to the Benton Franklin Fair this year, you're probably going to notice some big changes to the facilities. That's because several trees and ticket booths have already been torn down, making room for even more parking spaces, including several to increase accessibility. This is just phase one of construction with the goal to bring even more events to the fairgrounds.
You know, it's old. These buildings are decades and decades old, and they need to be remodeled. We also have an obligation to provide a safe and healthy environment for people to come out and use our facilities.
Phase one was the parking lot, and it's set to be finished this month. Phase two of the project, upgrading the arena, will be completed after this year's fair. And finally, a Yakima girl who has Down syndrome and heart issues is helping the Children's Miracle Network by showing how they've helped her and her family. KIMA's John Franklin reports the girl's health issues haven't stopped her from proudly advocating for the Memorial Foundation.
Oh, what do you have going on?
Watch TV, and I'm gonna stop TV now. Let's do homework on time.
She is 11 years old, and she has had the opportunity to partake in some of our services that we have here at Multicare, one being the NICU, and then she was also seen at Children's Village for quite a few years and still does yearly checkups with a cardiologist there.
Camila is this year's Children's Miracle Network champion. The Multicare Memorial Foundation has been helping her since before she was born, when doctors noticed abnormalities in her heart.
They've done a lot of services. When I was pregnant with her, she was diagnosed with a hole in her heart. So I had to have echocardiogram when I was pregnant. So I didn't have to go to Seattle to get that done. They would do it at Children's Village.
11 years later, Cammie helps raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. She also gives smiles and cards showing exactly who she is.
Little does she know at probably her age what she is doing for so many other children and families who benefit from the money raised for Children's Miracle Network.
Her mother, Mary, knows that it is important to volunteer their time to the organization that has helped her for over a decade.
Sometimes other people don't know that we have all these things there, and I want to hopefully spread the word. You know, there's services here that are local for us, for our community.
KIMA's John Franklin, thank you. Wonderful story there. And thank you for watching this episode of Keeper Quick. For more local news and weather, you can head over to our websites, keeperandkimatv.com, as well as our Facebook pages. But while you're here, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with our latest mini newscasts Monday through Friday. Have a wonderful Thursday.